Disappointed, Simon?
Yeah, I'd be disappointed, but I mean, he shouldn't be that disappointed. I mean, he's had a great tournament. He's still young, and I think Ramesh, mentioned this, his coach, that it doesn't matter so much. He's got the whole world in front of him now, as he's proven. So he should just be proud how he's done at the moment, I think.
And a sensible Queen's Pawn opening from Pragg.
Yes, Pragg will want to win. After all, he might get leapfrogged into second place if he doesn't win, if Firouzja takes his match. So Pragg still has a lot to play for, even if Magnus has won the tournament. And Magnus goes back to an opening he was playing earlier this week, and he's just asking to play the French defence. So he's at least saying, OK, I'm very flexible here. Pragnanda does not take up the challenge and push the White King's pawn forward. Instead, we see a check. Very solid stuff.
Are we going to see bishop takes bishop? Oh, we are. And, wow, Simon! What do you think about this move?
Brilliant. Best move ever.
F for forward, pushing the F pawn. And the reason you're so happy, Simon, for the viewers, is it's almost a Dutch defence now. Yeah,
pretty much. I mean, without the dark square bishops, I'm never really sure if who that favours so much. I mean, I would have thought now there's a couple of different variations in the Dutch you can play as black, and Magnus has been a bit of a fan of the stone wall Dutch in the past, but you don't want to do that after exchanging those bishops. You'd probably try to go for a more classical Dutch setup, which is my favourite opening. And you can also see maybe black trying to fianchetto now his light square bishop. This would be a very standard idea to play. A couple of, so that, OK, he's going for the classical Dutch. Happy to see this.
He's been watching your games, Simon.
Oh, God, I hope not, because that's not going to help him that much in life. And the idea here is to push the pawn in front of black's king at some moment and take the centre like that.
Maybe even now?
Maybe even now. Why not? Yeah, why not push it now? This is the main idea. And it's, I mean, we'll see. So I'm happy to see this, because you very rarely see this set up at the top levels nowadays. So, yeah.
Yeah, looks like a good version. Black, I mean, he's traded off one set of pieces, sorry. The black king can castle. Pragg really needs to start castling earlier. I think that's maybe one of his mistakes this final against Magnus.
Yeah.
And, if black can get his king to safety. OK, he does occupy the centre first. Typical idea.
Yeah, very typical idea. Those two black pawns are one of the reasons you play this opening. They can look after each other, control a lot of squares, and if black can castle and at least develop the queenside knight, then it should be a comfortable position for black. Black has chances to attack on the king side later on, but obviously white's very solid as well. So white is by no means worse, I would say.
I was just going to say, do you think that Pragg, also being in a must-win situation, if he wants to keep this match alive, do you think he was going to castle his king to the left?
He's keeping his options open.
Yeah, exactly. And, well, Magnus is really intent on determining the pawn centre. And he's asking Pragg, are you going to step your pawn forward? Are you going to make some trades? What you going to do?
Yeah. Interesting move, that one. I mean, that would be my first thought. And I think he's trying to close it down as well, possibly Magnus, with the knight maybe developing behind that pawn. And just trying to define the pawn structure. And here we go, Pragg has now defined the pawn structure already, which...
I'm a bit sad to see that move. I really wanted to see Pragg castle to the left.
I think that's his idea, Jovanka.
He might still do that, yeah.
I think it's more likely to castle this way than the other way right now. Magnus pushes even further, gaining all the space possible, and I guess he wants to use this square for the black knight. Nice outpost in the middle of the board. He has indeed brought his knight forward. And it's all about whether white at some point can undermine the head of the black pawn chain. If you let this pawn kind of sit in your camp for too long, you'll just get smothered. You'll just run out of space.
Yeah. And definitely you need to start doing that. You can also do it by picking up the H pawn and pushing the G pawn 2 squares forward.
This one, you need a lot of preparation work, though. Very, very weakening for white. So, yeah, I'm expecting Pragg now to make his decision, which side to castle. And once he's decided, then we'll know what pawn pushes he's going for. If he castles this way, for sure he's going to go for either this one, or, as Jovanka mentioned, at some point just breaking out, throwing pawns towards the black king, which is nearly definitely going to go this way, or you would think so.
I really hope we see that move on the board, because Also, black's going to sacrifice a pawn with a typical break if that happens later on, and it will just be king on king action in that position. So
Favorite type.
King on king, yeah.
Yeah, the white king is going to sit on the opposite side to the black king, and due to this imbalance, black will throw pawns forward on this side, as Simon mentions. Black will kind of sacrifice a pawn most likely here. White might do the same on the other flank, and it will just be a race. It'll be fireworks for us, and the two players will end on a high. But, OK, it's up to Pragg. If you want a slower kind of game, you could still castle this side. It's just a bit more scary that you might walk into an attack later on. If you castle on this side of the board, you could see, not right now, but later, for example, the knight come out, the queen come out, and some ideas against the white king.
Yeah, seems like a pretty decent position for Magnus, I guess, here, but it's always a bit risky playing the Dutch, I'll be honest. You know, you are committing your pawns to go forwards at a very early stage, so should come a bit of a health warning. And you know, Pragg just doesn't like castling. This is one thing I've learned. He's like, OK, and that's a very interesting exchange, because he has swapped off that maybe bad bishop for a knight. I mean, I wouldn't have thought about that. That bishop had great potential in the long run. Maybe not in the short run, but in the long run. So, I don't know, what do you think of that exchange?
Yeah.
It's quite a strange one, really.
Mixed feelings. I mean, I guess his kind of rationale is that it's a blocked centre. Knights are better in general, more flexible when the centre is blocked. But you're right, Simon, that white light squared bishop, it controls some key squares. And also it costs 2 tempi. Often if you have to move a piece around quite a lot, white's bishop moved 4 times there before swapping itself off. Yeah, it just feels like you're losing time, and that 1 or 2 moves that you're spending, losing, wasting, I mean, they could come back to haunt you.
Yeah. I mean, I thought that he did it primarily for a defensive way. He was afraid of a knight coming to the e5 square and attacking some pawns. But it's still,
scary now.
I know, and it's still, the problem persists. And well, it's up to, this is a problem that Pragnananda has to solve. And whilst he's thinking hard about how to solve this problem, well, I just wanted to share with you some more of our answers to our caption competition, where we are asking everyone at home to caption this picture of Pragg yesterday, just as he realised he'd blundered a checkmate. And the best caption wins 1-year subscription to Chess24 Premium. And Tonya Hansen says, that moment when Praggnanandhaa realised he didn't have any more room for the trophies in his bedroom.
Must have been a long time ago.
Yeah. Daniel to Dream says, did I just see Simon riding a hippo?
That's a good one.
And then Elizabeth Rose says, Jovanka's face when Simon disses the Carrot card.
Ah.
Yeah, it really is. It's like, oh, how dare you do that, Simon? How very dare you?
I wouldn't dare do that, seriously. You know, getting too much trouble here.
Yeah. No, I have.
I mean, if Pragg really was worried about his trophy cabinet, he could probably afford a new house by now with all these winnings he's getting, you know, so he doesn't have to worry about that. He have a whole house for his trophies.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And if you too want to enter our caption competition, there's still time. Then tweet your caption using the hashtag ChessChamps. Yes.
Wow, Pragg, he really hates castling.
I know. I've learnt 2 things from this game so far. From Pragg's play, he doesn't like castling, and number 2, the Dutch is probably the best opening in the world, and you always get better positions as
You
black.
already knew that, though, Simon.
I already knew that. Yeah, I did. That's not anything new, but I guess he's just playing like wait and see. But he's not really going to castle kingside now, and castling queenside also looks pretty scary. So is he going to leave that king there? I mean, there's already a knight jump which would stop castling, and I guess the reason this is not so bad for Pragg and the knight does come in is that you're only attacking with your knight at the moment, but black would want to open up more files to really get through to the king.
I was just wondering whether he could kind of lock that knight out of the game and pick up an f-pawn, but OK, he's gone for moving the knight and insisting on a knight trade.
I mean, it's not a terrible strategy, this, because if you can get rid of those knights, maybe Pragg's idea of swapping his bishop for that knight off earlier is just a piece of genius. Because, you know, if you can see the knights which are facing each other, if they can just literally be removed from the board, you'll be left with one knight versus black's bishop. And black's bishop, I have to say, is pretty bad. because it's trapped in by those pawns now, which are fixed. And White's knight has a nice route into the middle of the board. So I don't know, maybe this was just a very clever thing that Pragg did positionally. I mean, clearly a very positional idea. I mean, I don't know, interesting.
I think maybe critical here would be for Magnus to not allow this exchange of knights and to just take a step back. He's lost time with the Black Knight, but at least he's, as you mentioned there, Simon, he's taken away the castling rights from the White King. And it's hard to imagine White opening up any lines towards the Black King right now, just because Black's King is super safe. The White King is actually on the same flank. And Black does have this idea later on of pushing a pawn, opening this side up of the board up. The Queen side looks like Black's to play on. Yeah, OK, he goes for it immediately. What a move. Magnus is feeling really brave right now.
Wow.
He doesn't even care about this knight trade. He just pushes a pawn, allowing a capture of the knights. I guess his idea is that there's a pin along this diagonal. He wants to profit from that. And if there's a trade of knights, OK, first of all, White's knight cannot take this pawn. You drop a rook in the corner, and actually this will end in checkmate very shortly. And if instead you take with a pawn, is a pawn sacrifice from Magnus? Does he just want to push this pawn, try and really open up lines? If you can imagine, OK, this is helpful from White, but if you can imagine this bishop coming out, suddenly this bishop is on a great diagonal, this pawn is fixed in the White camp forever. I like it creatively, but it feels a bit premature somehow from Magnus. I don't see the refutation immediately, though. I don't see how White can really punish this brave pawn move.
Okay, well, the bar has gone over to Pragg's side, the Team Pragg. They must be a little disappointed. He's not going to win the tournament, but they must also be proud of his achievements in the FTX Crypto Cup. And Tanya in Miami right now is standing with his coach, Ramesh. What's happening, Tanya?
100%, Kaya. I think the way Pragg has played has been phenomenal, and we've got the man who's known as the father of modern Indian chess. He's the one who's behind all the talents and the big prodigies that we see coming out, this new wave of young chess players from India. Ramesh, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for the kind introduction. That was a bit exaggerated, I believe.
Not at all. Not at all. All right, Ramesh, I have to ask you, we've got the fourth game going on now, and the third game didn't go according to for Pragg. Now, coming into this final round with the championship not at stake, what is the feeling? Does it take the pressure off a bit?
No, I think we were not really playing for the championship per se. It's a fantastic opportunity to play against Magnus, and that too coming in the final round under crucial circumstances. So it's a fantastic situation for a youngster to prove his mettle. That's how I see. And so far, he has shown many positives in his games. He has defended many very difficult situations with less time on the clock against the best players in the world. So that's a positive, but it's also a little bit worrying. Like in some games, he gets into trouble right into the opening when he's out of theory. So that is probably one area we need to work on in the future.
Now, Magnus mentioned that Pragg has not played as well as he has in the previous match, especially in the starting phase of the game, like you're mentioning right now. Does that have something to do with fatigue, energy?
I think in some games he has played extremely well. I would say probably out on the 6 to 7 out of 10 games in the opening phases, we had a fantastic preparation. And some portions might have looked dubious, but we had thoroughly checked with the computers, and it was really playable. It's just that when he forgets theory under pressure, sometimes he doesn't find the best move over the board and then gets into trouble. And then it looks like throughout the game he has been outplayed, but that's not the case. But probably only in very few games he has shown some signs of nervousness right out of the opening, I would say. But I don't think it is to do with fatigue, but it is quite tiring to prepare for 4 games every day with either color. Just preparing for one game would have been ideal, but preparing for both colors, and we also have to take into consideration situations like this where we are trailing. What should be our approach? So we should have some backup plan as well. So it takes a lot of time and energy. And it is 7 matches. So had it been 9, it would have been much tiring.
Right now, Ramesh, we all remember the time when Magnus had the first defeat against Pragg earlier in the tour. And now Pragg is here playing outstanding chess, fighting for the championship as well against Magnus. What do you think has contributed to this growth that we've seen in Pragg's performance over the last year?
I think it is Prag's adaptability to play at this level. First of all, when he got a chance to play in the Tata Steel Masters, we were really apprehensive. In a standard time control, playing against the best players when he has not had much experience playing at this level. So he adapted quite well, I believe. And in the Tata Steel Masters, he had some tough games in the middle of the tournament, but towards the end, he recovered very well and managed to defeat a couple of very strong players. And since then, he has grown from strength to strength, I would say. And with each tournament, he is able to play these guys, and many times he is able to beat these guys in the rapid tournament. And so he's also believing in himself, in his capabilities more. And also we have been working a lot in the opening preparation, trying to come up with new ideas, because most of the ideas are getting exhausted very quickly. 4 games in a day. So that's also a big challenge, but that also forces us to work even more than before. That's also good for his game, I believe.
Ramesh, I want to ask you one thing. Now, of course, like you said, the players are playing 4 games in a row, requires a lot of opening ideas. And you also need rest. Now, while Pragg gets his rest, do you manage to get any sleep, or are you burning the night oil here?
No. We realize I'm not getting any younger with the passage of time. So I also need to recharge my battery so I can do my job efficiently. So we both are very particular about having a good night's sleep, irrespective of how the games go. We are very particular about it, and we have managed to successfully do it under very difficult circumstances also. None of us will complain lack of sleep during the tournaments.
Right, and finally, Ramesh, the 4th game is on. I'm going to ask you, what do you think about the position? Has the opening gone the way that you were expecting?
Magnus has played something out of the blue. D4, E6, E4, BB4 check was completely unexpected. But okay, he has played A3, F3, so we should expect the unexpected, I believe. But I think the opening went well. Probably when Magnus played C5, that's when I think Pragg's reaction of D5 probably is not the best. And after that, I have not seen the position, so I don't know really how it is currently. But I think probably D5 was not the best reaction. Maybe long castle or Rook D1, keep the tension, and then now I just think about it, even Rook D1, short castle, and then try to play on the dark squares would have been a better option, because early D5 allowed him Knight D2, Knight E5 with a tempo, threatening C4 and the Knight D3 check. It's very difficult to handle over the board with less time. So I just hope for the best.
Hope for the best indeed. And we've got our 4th big game running, the man behind Pragg's success. And of course, no matter what happens, he's a champion already. Thank you so much, Ramesh, for joining us.
Thank you.
Absolutely, Tanya. The super team, Praggnanandhaa and Ramesh, they have come up with so many good ideas in this tournament, and Pragg came so close to winning the whole thing. We had a few moves in this game, David, and the bar is over to Pragg's side.
Yeah, we've had a few moves, and irrespective of where the bar sits, it's just chaotic on the board. Magnus really doesn't care about pawns in this game. Simon there, just while Ramesh was being interviewed, he mentioned Magnus really enjoying himself, just throwing pawns, kind of going for the white king. This last couple of moves, maybe we can just jump in to kind of recap what has happened. And here, I mean, I'm not even going to count the pawns, but we predicted this position, Black trying to open up a diagonal for his bishop, maybe trying to open up a file for his rook. Pragg allowed this to happen. He brought his rook across, and after a trade of pawns, Magnus decided, okay, I'm not going to go from this angle yet. Instead, I'm going to go directly for the white king. He pushes forward, and after this happened, he brought his bishop out. Again, I'm slightly surprised he chose this square. Yes, he's attacking the rook, but I thought that it was part of White's plan anyway to push the pawn forward, just to create some breathing space for his king. And now Magnus is thinking. And okay, finally, I'll do a pawn count. White has 7 pawns. Black has only 5. So White's 2 pawns up. Can he cling on? That's the question. Right now, it's about this pawn. Maybe Black takes a step back. And the compensation lies in the fact that this pawn is so strong. White's king is very, very poorly placed. And open files for the black rook. Maybe a target later. Who would you pick here, guys, and why?
Very surprised about Magnus's bishop move as well there, because you know, the only thing I can think he was trying to do here was some kind of sacrifice, like bringing the rook in, but it doesn't look like any sacrifice is working. I feel because you know in a position like this, which is incredibly sharp, where your material down, tempo, losing time. giving your opponent more time is the key thing. And this pawn move, as you said, is probably something that white wants to play, because now the king can come forwards. It has another square. So I'm a little bit surprised by that. But saying all of that, I'm a great fan of giving up on my pawns and getting the initiative. You know, I love getting the initiative. And black has the initiative. White's king is misplaced. So practically speaking, I think this is probably easier for black to play. Black can just try to get his rooks in the game, keep some pressure up. I mean, but so hard to judge. I mean, if you didn't have the computer assessment here, you know, how could you know who's better in this position? Now, you're a bit of a pawn grabber, aren't you, Ivanka?
I am.
So are you going to take the white pieces? What percentage do you believe white is for winning this one?
For winning this one?
Yes.
Oh, for winning this one, this one is a bit murky, actually. I'm not that clear on it. I would say 35% for winning.
35 for
Yeah,
white. For white,
for
okay.
white, because I feel that this is so messy. Because, yeah, the king is pretty safe for now on the f2 square. But if that white knight is dislodged, well, then it's not safe anymore. Like you guys mentioned, if a rook gets on the E line and can come down to the E2 square, that is going to be curtains. And black's pawn on D3 is so strong. And there you go. He puts a rook on the open line. And how is how is white going to even challenge that? I mean, you have to step with the D rook.
Yes,
Big threat on the board.
Yeah, because you can swap rooks then, and it will probably become very clear, David, after the next couple of moves, do you think, here? Yeah. Because white will either defend or not, basically.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if the white knight steps back now. I'd be very happy to get that white knight back in the game. It looks offside. White's king does have a nice square to hide on. White's king can head towards the right. Magnus is not happy at all. I think he feels he's missed something. Maybe he feels he should have used the other black rook instead. Just because that black rook in the corner looks nice on an open file, but maybe it was more useful to keep two rooks close together towards the white king.
Maybe he's annoyed with the bishop move because he's allowed white's king to step up, and he could have had the same position here with the white king not being able to allow the white rooks to connect. So you see the white rooks now connecting. He didn't need to allow this, so little things like this would annoy you, wouldn't you? And the problem is when you sacrifice pawns, and I get this quite a lot, or pieces, you have to play so accurately, because a lot of people assume it's much easier to attack than defend. That's not always the case, because if you don't keep the energy up, you're just 2 pawns down and you lose. So it's really easy to let any initiative just blow away, and that could also be something that is a danger here. I mean, I guess if the knight comes back, maybe we come in with a check, but then the king just comes out, yeah, and you think it's quite safe there, right? So,
I mean,
yeah.
I don't really see anything that black can try, to be honest.
No.
Let's jump in, because there is this massive threat that we mentioned. The black rook wants to come down with a check.
Yes, yeah.
This has been prevented by white's knight stepping back, covering this key square. And as both of you mentioned, black's queen can now jump in with a check. Maybe this is what Magnus was relying upon, but now the white king just hides, and it's hiding behind 4 pawns. Looks super safe, and white remembers those 2 pawns up. And Magnus just instead pushes his h-pawn.
Yeah. I think that there's a lot to be said as well for this move, just securing the light squared bishop, because whilst that pawn on d3 exists, then black will have compensation for those 2 pawns, because there's really not that much that white can do either. White is just really just in reaction mode.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it could also be the rook thing you mentioned, David, because if you had that rook next to the black king, that could do the swinger, couldn't it? In these kind of positions. And that might be why he was cursing himself, that he's put the wrong rook in the middle of the board. So
he could have used the other rook, as you mentioned, and when the knight comes back, you give a check. And either now or maybe after this pawn push, you could kind of lift the rook across and start going for the white king. But instead, we've seen a few moves. Let's jump back to the game. We did see, just if we rewind, white offer a trade of rooks. 1 set of rooks are off the board, but it has come at the cost of this key pawn on the edge. And Magnus gobbles that one up willingly with a check. The white king steps back. So he's only 1 pawn down now, Magnus. And as Ivanka mentioned, this pawn is still a bit of a nuisance to deal with later on, protected by the black bishop. Also, if the queens come off, we've seen this happen now 3 times to Pragg, but he might have rook and knight and rook against rook and bishop. He's lost 3 in a row of those types of endgames. If the queens come off, will he lose a 4th?
David, do you know what he should do if he gets that ending?
Tell us, Simon.
Resign. Just resign.
But I mean, White's position though is still so loose. I mean, is there a kind of a move that he can play just to kind of hold the fort? And I'm just kind of thinking building a foundation in order to make progress. So, I mean, you highlighted the move h5, h4. So maybe it's possible to step up with the g-pawn. Just, I know it's ugly, I know it's, and then step up with the king and then use that as a way to propel forward. Because you have to bear in mind, Pragnananda is in a must-win situation.
Yeah, it doesn't look like the type of position where you can kind of guarantee that you'll kind of have a one-sided game. It's going to be Black trying to create things for the near future. It's just Pragg reacting, so it's about whether he can survive the onslaught, really.
And it's looking really good for Alireza Firouzja in Game 4 against Levon Aronian. If he wins that game, he will win that match, take 3 points. And if Firouzja does that, that means Pragg, he will have to take this to tie-breaks, and he will have to win the tie-breaks against Magnus to take 2nd place, to be the runner-up in the tournament.
And again, sorry, Kai, I was just going to say hands. It looks like he needs to get a draw on the last game, but he looks like he's struggling a bit, right, Kaya? I think they're just on the according to the computer.
Yeah.
So
he won a game today. They also won a game. They are tied before this Game 4. So close to taking it to tie-breaks and get that point that I think everyone agrees he deserves, because there's been some good chess from Hans. Just no points so far.
And he played really well in the first 3 games today. Maybe he should have already won this match, Hans, but I just looked over there. Yeah, it's not looking good for the American player. And maybe that's something he needs to work on, as well as the kind of the mental side of things. Maybe also stamina. He's always starting well, ending poorly. That's a big part of becoming a better chess player. He can work on that as he gets a bit older. Meanwhile, the position here has changed, Ivanka.
Yeah, I was just going to say it's swung massively, I think, in Black's favour. I mean, because when you compare the rook and now, look at what Black is doing. I mean, I think it's going to be all about this pawn on d3.
Yeah, you think Black's passed pawn is...
I think it's such a good pawn. I mean, you can't ever get rid of it.
And again, White's knight is always a great defender. White's queen is holding things for now. Can Black up the pressure? There are weaknesses in Black camp, in the Black camp as well. It looks good, but maybe it's just visual right now.
Yeah, but we always have to remind ourselves that one man, Praggnanandhaa, is desperate. He needs to win.
Yeah.
So he will probably be taking a lot more risks. And when I look at the clock situation, I see what a time difference. Praggnanandhaa just over 3.5 minutes. Meanwhile, Magnus, well, he's cruising with 10 minutes.
Yeah, it's been lightning fast from the world number 1. It looks like he just wanted to enjoy this game, choosing a bit of an unorthodox opening, taking big chances, throwing pawns forward, sacrificing.
excuse me.
Are you okay, Simon?
Oh, I'm okay, yeah. Just a bit of coffee down the wrong way, I'm afraid. So
We've all been there.
yeah.
Uphill struggle for Pragg on the board and the clock.
Okay. Well, Magnus Carlsen enjoying himself, obviously, in this game. He's already won the FTX Crypto Cup. Pragg, he needs to come up with something clever to win this game and take it to tie-breaks.
And the Black bishop dropping back, just opening up the Black queen slightly more. Magnus, it feels like he's just sitting there. He is still a pawn down, so I would be worried if Black went for something too quick. It could backfire. So he's just sitting on the position, asking Pragg if he has any useful moves, and maybe the answer is no. Maybe White just has to sit and wait as well. Very hard for White to move the queen, very hard for White's knight to get back in the game, very hard for the White rook, which is passively defending a pawn. What do you think here? Will we just see Magnus take the practical approach and kind of bully Pragg because of draws?
I think
he's got
so.
draw odds.
Yeah, I mean, it's very, like you say, it's very hard to find a plan for White. I mean, if White tries to activate anything, okay, he's trying to, he weakens something. Now the back rank is a little bit weak because the rook was covering the back rank. So it's a very good practical decision, isn't it? Just to wait until your opponent has to overpress. And I'd probably just put the rook down to the bottom rank now. Seems to improve the position somewhat, and then think about what to do. What to do next.
That's my strategy as well. just play the move that's now available to you that wasn't available before.
Yeah, make the white king feel a bit uncomfortable. If you come down, you sneak in from behind with that black rook, and suddenly the white king is maybe in a mating net, so tactics will work in your favor. But there we see Magnus from behind, his head just bobbing along. I think he's listening to music now. No more podcasts, no more smiling. He's just shaking, swaying, enjoying the position.
Yeah. I'd also be tempted just to put the bishop back to the square it came from. Just kind of go,
What's next?
Exactly.
Maybe Prag's idea is to sacrifice the exchange. Maybe white just wants to get rid of that very dangerous pawn that you were talking about there. I'm not sure that's a winning attempt. Maybe it's just an attempt to bail out and get the danger off the position. But I wouldn't be surprised to see Magnus just kind of move his king up one square, just to a square it won't be checked.
You love those moves so much,
I don't
don't
know.
you?
I just, you know me, Simon.
I know you. The little Petrosian king moves are
I'm not sure it's a good strategy, but...
No, I mean, again, just why not improve your king and see what white's trying to do here? Because if white is trying to sacrifice the exchange, prepare for it. There's not really much of a point behind that last move that white's played, really. And this is something I think, again, lots of people maybe watching the commentary, they probably fail to do a bit, looking at their opponent's last move and just working out what they're trying to do and just acting against their opponent's moves. I think most people are very tempted when they're playing chess, just from my experience of coaching in the past, to look at their plans a lot more than their opponent's plans. And if you want to immediately try to improve your own chess, just try to get into your opponent's mind, work out what they're trying to play, and try to stop their plans. You can win chess just by doing that. And I've noticed a lot of people jump up in strength by thinking in that way as well.
Yeah, and Magnus thinking now for 2.5 minutes. Let's go to Miami, where the chess fans are following the action in the tournament.
Kaya, chess has brought the world together and it's played such a big role in changing people's lives. Now, I've got somebody very special with us who's been doing a lot of work here in Florida, and Otis is here with us to tell us more about it.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. We have 954 Chess, and we do a lot of chess events in Broward County, which is right next door to Miami. We also do a lot of things in North Miami as well. We try to grow chess as much as possible, promote the game to as many people, and try to spread, not only the joy of chess, but also the benefits of it. It can really improve a lot of areas in our society, as far as with children, especially in more, let's say, impoverished communities that chess has brought a lot of good things to. Less fortunate children that get to learn how to play. It's very good for their critical thinking, improving just their social skills and everything else. It's a very positive thing that I think helps a lot of communities. And, we try to promote that and help to grow the chess community at large and bring exposure to chess in areas that otherwise wouldn't consider that as something, an activity that they enjoy. So, chess, I think, is rich in culture, and it's very diverse. And I think the more we try to promote it in places where it's not currently covered, I think is a great thing. So I really enjoy what you guys are doing here, and I think it's great for the chess community as well as South Florida. So.
It's also great what you're doing here. Now, tell me one thing, that, we've got all these players from across the world, the biggest names in chess, the strongest grandmasters, but also these young upcoming talents who are probably going to be future world champions. What does it mean to Miami and to your club and to the kids there to watch these guys in action?
Well, it's very inspiring. You got a lot of young, talented players from all over the world, and a lot of players, a lot of fans of the game, not even just players, but fans of the game, really look up to these guys. And to see them here in person, it's an amazing thing. And I think that a lot of people enjoyed. I think that the fans of chess, the children, that play the game, really respect these guys, really look up to them. And it's good to see them, in such a local venue. It's great, and I hope that they have more, of these events.
Thank you so much, Otis, for the amazing work that you're doing for your community and using chess as a tool to make it a better place.
Absolutely, thank you.
Back to you guys.
Absolutely, we are so much cheering for that. And Alireza Firouzja, he has now won his match against Levon Aronian. 3 points for him in that match means Pragg, he has to take this to tiebreaks and win the tiebreaks to take second place in the tournament. What is it looking like right now? Will he be able to win this game, Pragg?
I mean, first of all, huge drama because Magnus has sacrificed a whole rook.
Whoa.
At first, I thought it was a mouse slip, but no, it looks like the world champion, he planned this all. He's a rook down in the current position, but look at that black pawn. It's 1 square away from promotion. The white queen has been forced back to defend against it, and it's just about whether he can up the pressure now. The computer thinks it should be a draw, but for a human, this is hard to evaluate. There are ways maybe you can get at the white king. You can try to use the black queen to somehow force this this pawn through to promotion. What do you guys think? It's just pure calculation here, right?
Yeah, I mean, I like the move one of you suggested. I can't remember who it was, but Queen E5 looks, maybe it's you, David, this move, because it also threatens bishop C2 in some positions, right? So that looks like a very clever idea, actually.
Yeah.
Just to have a couple of multiple threats there, bishop C2 and just bringing the queen in, are both threats that are very scary, at least.
How does white guard against this? You have to drop the rook back, I guess?
Okay.
Maybe this is the only way. Otherwise, I mean, this is just a winning threat. So I guess the rook drops back.
Right, and at least this way you can capture and open up the white king, maybe, worst case scenario.
But at least here, white would be out of danger. Black would be playing for the draw. I just have a sneaky feeling that it might, just because the evaluation bar says 0.0, the best play might end up something like this. The queen comes in, the rook moves somewhere across, and then black opens up the white king. And eventually we might just see the position repeat itself with some kind of draw. Although here it's still a bit scary for white with the black's bishop lurking. Yeah, it's still super complicated, but Magnus has this choice to make. If we go back to the current position, does he try this idea? Jovanka, you were mentioning maybe you could...
The queen can also come to g3.
You could sneak in from this angle, try to deliver a nasty check. If the white rook guards against that check by bringing itself across, maybe now you could...
Now you do the h3, and yeah, this is messy stuff. And I think here, white probably, unless the king is running, which it may well be, but...
Well, you've got bishop d3, haven't you, as well?
Yeah.
But that doesn't work. just thought it was a move, but...
Maybe the king runs away.
Maybe bishop c2, though.
But maybe the queen can just carry on checking till her cards.
So complicated.
So complicated.
Yeah. Let's just
like it should be a draw here.
Let Magnus work it out. You know, that's his job, isn't it?
There's no way, actually, for white's king to run away, so you just kind of force the draw. The position repeats itself. And Magnus, he has this one in his pocket. It looks like he can force the draw immediately with this idea from Jovanka, bringing the queen to this square, but maybe he's looking for more. It looks like black is so close to winning because this pawn is only 1 move away, but maybe the white queen just guards it sufficiently. And yeah, Magnus, he can't take too many risks. He is a rook down after all. He does drop his queen back, and now we're expecting the white rook to come to the bottom of the board. There we go. Pragg plays it instantly. He was calculating in Magnus's time, and at least this rook now, it did kind of cost the black pawn its life. And Magnus, he's fighting for a draw. White is a pawn up. Still some life left in the game. And the evaluation bar reacts. Magnus didn't go for the white king when he could have done. He could have forced the draw immediately. And look at this, the computer finds a really sneaky move to press the advantage. White's queen can actually kick away this bishop from its great outpost now, just by stepping forward. Queen d2 according to the Stockfish. And if the bishop moves, then happy times. It cannot take this pawn due to a nasty double attack, a check. And you pick up the bishop on the next move.
And of course, Pragg played it.
And he played it. Wow.
I mean,
if there's one move.
I mean, there's no perpetual here by, you got f4. I was thinking black can try checking multiple times, but it doesn't work.
And this time you can block,
Yeah.
Magnus is in trouble.
Yeah.
Suddenly, we might see playoffs in this match.
Yeah.
Pragg could still fight for second place. Wow, what a turnaround. Magnus had the draw in his pocket, but he played on, and now fighting for his life.
Yeah, and he's missed a couple of moves, hasn't he? I mean, this bishop in, he played very quickly, but it's just a blunder, because now he's going to have to move the bishop again, and he's lost some important tempo, and he's pawned down. I think in his mind he was just thinking, okay, it's going to be a draw no matter what I do. Yep.
And he just took his eye off the ball for 1 second, and suddenly Pragg seized the opportunity.
And we just actually saw a slight tell from the world champion that he's frustrated, and now we can
Bigger tell
clearly see it there. Because you just saw him say, what am I going to do now? I mean, how could this happen? And goodness me, what a turnaround. I mean, it just looked like Magnus was playing superb chess, and now he's fighting for his life. And there we can see that he's considering putting his bishop on the f1 square, but then he kind of took it back. He's not sure about that. I mean, is the bishop safe on that square?
It's like the bishop might get trapped there.
Yeah.
The white king could have just moved across, and dangerous times for this black bishop. Changing his mind, Magnus. He's down to under 2 minutes. No longer trusting his instincts after some kind of mistakes there.
He's probably got to put it near his king just to keep it safe.
Back where it came from. He's lost 2 moves there.
Yeah, 2 big moves as well. And he could have opened up the white king by pushing his h-pawn, for example, just try to open up some lines. But he didn't do that. And now these 2 tempos should cost him the game. They're both now, time-wise, a minute and a half left. So they're going to have to speed up. And look at his body language. He's so frustrated, right?
He nearly threw the mouse there. It looked like he wanted to kind of hit something or smash something. But, OK, he's refocused now. Magnus, he could still defend this if he's accurate and a bit lucky.
Yeah.
But the white knight is going to finally get back in the game. The white knight's been so far detached from its own king, from any defense, from any real action for the whole game. But now, Pragg, he's got queen and knight against queen and bishop, not rook and knight against rook and bishop. And here it's kind of a different assortment. The queen and knight usually work better together in tandem than the queen and bishop. Having an extra pawn also helps. And the world champion now under 1 minute.
This is the last game now going on in the arena. It's a win for Lee Emle against Hans Niemann in that final rapid game. That means Liam wins to take all 3 points. It ends up with 0 points in the tournament for Hans Niemann, but he has a lot of new fans, no doubt about it, and he's played some great chess as well. But 0 points for the American. This one will be the final rapid game in the FTX Crypto Cup. Question is, will we see blitz tiebreaks, or will it be over after this game?
Yeah, that is a big question. I think we might be in for more chess today.
All right.
If Pragnananda can organise his pieces correctly. One move that screams out to be played is just centralising the white knight, bringing it back into the action. What else could you consider here? Maybe you could step a pawn forward to attack the black queen. Pragg goes for a more aggressive approach. He brings his queen forward to attack. Harry the h-pawn over there. The black king not safe anymore.
No, certainly not safe. And, well, how is Black going to even defend that pawn? I mean, he has to step forward and give a check. Maybe. But then he leaves his king all abandoned.
Yeah, maybe you could push this pawn and just trying to open up the white king, even if it costs you a second pawn here.
I mean, this is the move he should have played without moving the bishop, I'm sure. Yeah. You know, he had to open up the white king with this little lever, and he missed his opportunity. Now the knight comes in. Pragg is just like so good at not being scared of moves, and the white king switches over it. Is there any hope here? I mean, the white king's a little bit weak, isn't it? But is it weak enough?
You need some kind of miraculous perpetual check where white's king can't escape, where you can repeat the position 3 times. But this last move, so clever from the white king. If the white king had taken this pawn, actually, we would have seen a turnaround. And Magnus would have won, because there would have been a nasty bishop check. Look at the queens, the tension between them.
Magnus under 20 seconds as well.
If you take the white knight, the black bishop would have fallen. So now 2 pawns up for Pragg. Where's the king running to? Can he just run up the board?
Got to go forwards, otherwise it'd be a draw. So he must go up the board. Only choice now.
Yeah, go on an odyssey, start attacking some pieces, let the king become the hunter.
Yeah, he might as well step forward. You can always repeat the position afterwards. And Magnus is ready for a pre-move there. He's ready to check that white king. OK, still some chance for black if Pragg chooses the wrong square for his king.
I mean, the white king is still exposed. Obviously, if the queens ever come off, it's completely game over. But that king is exposed.
Yeah. If the knight and bishop come off, that's also game over.
Yeah.
This check is very annoying for Pragg. You can't step forward now towards the centre. You've got to watch out for some checks, some skewers. He's running away again. Maybe this is clever. He's done a little kind of triangle manoeuvre. And now the black queen is further away from the square she wanted to use earlier. And, yeah, not easy.
He's playing confidently, Pragg, as well. I mean, he's playing his moves quickly now. And but he's got to get out of this little series of checks at the moment.
He's doing very well at forcing the queen away from the king, but the black queen still has a lot of squares. He's using every square possible here, Pragg, and at least now the checks will dry up. The white queen is ready to come back to her king's defense and block any remaining checks. So Magnus gives up on that idea, just gets his bishop to safety. Can white's queen start giving some checks now? Can the white knight jump back to a better square? Oof, Pragg, he's ever since he was gifted this opportunity, again, perfect technique.
Yep.
Definitely, and but it's still a question of getting that king to safety. And he retreats his queen.
Yeah, good choice of square. The white queen guards the dark squares, so the white king will have some safety, potentially. The black bishop just doesn't have a safe kind of outpost to sit on.
Well, he's got a threat now, you know.
Does threaten checkmate with this bishop. The black queen wants to swing the whole way across to the g2, the light square near the white king. Checkmate. Actually, yeah, not easy to defend. You have to kind of contort yourself.
Look at that, it's great defense, because also now white is threatening to exchange off queens as well, so...
Yeah. White's queen wants to firstly attack the black bishop, but also go to the h2 square in front of the white king. That's a check, and you hit the black queen. Yeah, as you mentioned, Simon, a queenless endgame. It's an easy win for white. So Magnus has to stop that idea. Okay.
But now the bishop and the queen are in a pickle. They're tied up together, and of course you can't step back to give a check because the queen would block it. So, okay, now's the chance to have you've got a free move. Now is the moment to move the knight.
Threaten checkmate, why not?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, stopping queen checks, and we do have a result. Pragnananda has taken it to tiebreaks.
Wow, impressive. Oh, imagine if this would have meant he still had a chance to win the FTX Crypto Cup. He still has a chance now to take second place, though. Praggnanandhaa, a massive win against the world #1. Praggnanandhaa takes it to tiebreak. They will have either 5 or 10 minutes. The arbiter will check with the players if they're comfortable to start in 5 minutes. Those blitz tiebreaks. Pragg there will be fighting to take second place in the tournament. Magnus.